Good late Tuesday, early Wednesday meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving a look at those temperatures here across the region. You do see here some 70s still on the board as we're looking at some of those latest observations. I know it's 1 o'clock in the morning or so if you're watching this live. You see 73 toward Tallahassee, but 61 around Keystone here. It's always interesting to watch the differences here in toward the local region across our 62 counties as we do remain FSU strong, and I know our local weather not, overwhelmingly interesting right now. We're going to talk more about it here in a moment. I do want to talk a little bit more about the national picture, though. Let me pull up the graphics for a moment, and we'll kind of go back and forth. But there's a thread of tornadoes continuing out toward the west. I took down our red logo, went back to the FSU logo here, as we're, still FSU strong, of course, after what happened. But the threat isn't just significant enough for the national storyline to keep it red, but we still have to remain on standby toward like Dallas on that Wednesday. There could be some isolated tornadoes there around Dallas, maybe, Arlington area, Fort Worth, areas north and south. I'll need to be on guard here for sure. And even later on in the week, I know maybe Friday, that could be an issue with some severe weather around Houston, give or take. So we're going to continue to monitor the weather situation. It's always important when there's a tornado watch in play. That means conditions are favorable for tornadic activity. So you want to stay tuned for the latest in charge devices. Have multiple ways to receive alerts. And then when there's a tornado warning issued, I know, locally North Florida, South Florida, you go to that interior room away from windows. But really, a basement is more, preferred in these type of scenarios. And those are more more common, a lot more common out toward areas away from our viewing area. So just, try to avoid taking shelter in a mobile home first off, but basement's best if you don't have that interior room of a sturdy building. You just want to get there, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and then protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet. I know that's another thing that you can do, especially if you don't have a basement. I know as we're just continuing to watch things, I know it's interesting looking at this temperature contrast here and the like, because I'll go back on over here toward those temperatures because, we have 73, toward Tallahassee there, but we're at a 58 actually on my thermometer. It's not on here, but it's, where I'm at here east of Stark and Bradford County, not too far away from the golf course. And definitely, that temperature contrast is kind of intriguing to see as we're looking at things. I know we did have some precip here over the last 12 hours. That was more toward Tallahassee, though, and toward the Big Bend region. Not, an overwhelming amount in Tallahassee itself. I know back on Monday, going back toward north central Florida around Newberry, they picked up close to about 6 inches of rain, which is remarkable. And we do need the rain. Just don't have too much too quick, of course. But as you look out toward the west here, you see like Decatur County there south of Bainbridge. Some areas picking up 2 to 3 inches of rain there. You see toward Tallahassee around the campus of FSU there. Not a whole bunch, but further out toward like Northfleet, over an inch in some of those spots. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking the very latest information. So I know we're watching all this here for you. Let me go ahead and I'll put on the infrared satellite. You see a little bit more cloud cover around us, playing a role in some of those temperatures being a little bit warmer out toward Tallahassee than they are around Lake Stark and Jacksonville. And like, of course, those water temperatures, especially as you get like later in summer, you'll have the temperatures there near the coast warmer by a pretty good margin than you will toward those inland areas. Of course, we'll be watching those afternoon storms developing along the sea breezes here more and more as we look ahead in the months to come. But let's get out to the national picture again a little bit here. I'm going to take off the report, and there could be a little fog around tonight toward our area. But as you look out toward the west, there is ongoing severe weather now. I talked about Dallas for that Wednesday here, Houston for that Friday, and the like, give or take, of course. And we just want to be paying attention to the active weather because there is a lot of flooding going on in Oklahoma right now, as I was alluding to in the description of this video here. It's midnight Central Time or so out there, so I really hope folks aren't driving as we're looking at things there. I mean, not an ideal set of circumstances for sure as we're looking out there. I mean, because, I know it's around that into semester time for places like OU there and Norman, and as we're just tracking things, I just hope folks aren't out and about, because it could be really hard to see how deep water is. I mean, as we get up toward Oklahoma City, you see in the last 12 hours, I know you can't see the color table, but the lighter purple's an inch and a half or so, but around Edmond there, about 3 inches of rain, and that's, you know, a lot, really, considering it's already been wet out there. There's just so many green boxes. I know even northern Texas, there's even more rain here. But some of these are considered particularly dangerous type situations where we have a considerable flash flooding threat here on the board. So I know just a lot of problems here as we're tracking even around Tulsa there in Okfuskee County. You know, they're really having to deal with this here. Just that rain really coming down, those low lying areas, they could get quite a bit more precip there around Tulsa, Owasso there, and the like. 1 hour here, they pick up about an inch or so in the last hour, but there's still a good bit more of heavy convective moving through, and that's why flash flood warning remain in effect till 4:15 a.m. Central Time there. As I know, there's even a tornado watch. It's kind of busy on the map, but there is a tornado watch in the yellow state zone to the south, including Wichita Falls and Sherman, Texas there, Gainesville in Texas as well. And then you have severe thunderstorm watch. You know, that's the pink. So the tornado watch is the yellow. Severe thunderstorm watch is the pink. We have some severe thunderstorm warnings west of Abilene there along that interstate corridor. And as we're looking there east of Hobbs there, New Mexico, over and toward the Texas Panhandle, it would look like, or no, not really Texas Panhandle, I guess West Texas you could call it. There southwest of the community Seminole there in Texas. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning in play there. It's been a busy national picture because we've had issues like in Missouri around Potosi there in Missouri back on that Tuesday. As we're looking at things, as we're looking toward areas out there, there was some damage to a school from some severe weather. Tornado warning was in play at the time there. As we're looking in toward that region, east central Missouri. And then as we get in toward Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh really had some problems there in western PA. They really had some weather issues there for sure. I mean, so much so that, you know, not just there, but around State College, Penn State University in Center County, they had weather concerned with some really, really strong winds coming through. You know, there may have been some tornadic activity in that state, but the strong wind was the biggest storyline for sure, because I'm going to see the power outage map. It is very significant there. As I'll see in just a couple seconds on our PowerOut.us source here. I mean, this is very significant. As we look up here, you can see, according to PowerOut.us, we're still at over 500,000 folks in the dark right now. A lot of those are right around Pittsburgh there, but it stretches into central PA as well. So let me go ahead and say here, you see Center County where Penn State University is there. We have about 35,660 customers in the dark. Just to the north there, you see a lot less, but still some. You see as we get out toward Indiana County in Pennsylvania, almost 28,000 customers in the dark there. Armstrong County, over 20,000. Jefferson County, Pennsylvania, 7,281. As the latest updates, Butler County, there over 6,000. Westmoreland County, over 50,000. But then in Allegheny County, they're over 250,000. That's where Pittsburgh is, over 250,000 folks, you know, in the dark. Probably even a little bit more than that. You know, this 255,000 or so number had to go to bed in the dark. You know, different changes maybe to their schedule the next day, or maybe just having to use that phone, whatever charge they have left, to have that alarm set to try to get up and go out maybe to work or school in the morning there. Beaver County, almost 18,000 customers in the dark. Washington County, over 26,000. So there was some hurricane force gusts in there for sure toward Pittsburgh. There were even images there circulating on some of the local stations there. I remember watching a little bit of that coverage from WPXI, the NBC affiliate. I'm doing that right here on the fly, saying that right out of Pittsburgh. There were some windows blown out of a tall building there. So not what you want to see, obviously, as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things there. So just a nasty situation with so many folks in the dark. I mean, It's not going to see the whole extent of this, but I'm going to do a couple things here. I'll go back 4 hours. You can still see some lingering of this, but let's go 12 hours, and I actually need to go all the way to the end of this. You can kind of see the rain, but it wasn't a prolific rainfall producer there. And luckily, I mean, in some ways, you know, to prevent more in the way of flash flooding. I mean, as we look there, but definitely some nasty weather right now. Just some light rain up there, but it was a nasty day. Not that many tornado warnings. We didn't have the moderate 4 to 5 risks like we did on Monday to ward like Iowa. That didn't verify as much as it could have. Honestly, if this severe weather threat in Pennsylvania verified probably more than that moderate risk did. But that's just how it is sometimes in meteorology. You know, it is tough. The models are a guide. They're not the gospel, I guess you could say. As we're looking at things, they're not exactly what's going to happen ever. They're just a simulation of the possibilities here. So we just have to kind of stay tuned as we're looking there. I know another state worth noting, Missouri, over 50,000 customers in the dark tonight because they did have some nasty weather around Springfield. You know, nasty cluster of QLCS tornadic activity is coming up into the state of Missouri. Again, none of these are really big enough for us to go live with, you know, a national threat, but all of them are worth noting here to some degree because this one also caused power outages. It was in the morning there on that Tuesday as we're looking there, Tuesday the 29th. And you see over 50,000 customers still in the dark, and it's not really around St. Louis. I mean, see Washington County, I mean, we had the Potosi situation, 108 customers in the dark, but look out here toward Greene County in parts of Missouri, 44,644 customers in the dark. Lawrence County, a little over 1,000. Berry County, not as much. Newton, McDonald, you kind of get the idea, but a lot of them around that Springfield area. Not great weather for sure, so it's always just imperative to stay tuned for the latest weather updates. And we'll have to watch around Dallas, a very highly populated area. Could see an increase in the tornado threat on that Wednesday based on some of the latest guidance. Maybe just south of the metro too, like, you know, around Waxahachie or Cleburne. I don't remember storms down there. Granbury, Cleburne, about maybe 10 years ago or so. Watching some of that coverage as we were looking there. As we were tracking that from my residence hall room at FSU, in fact, I remember watching some of that coverage. I think it was CBS 11 covering that. It was a bad night, though, really. I mean, we had fatalities and the like there. As we're tracking toward those areas, there was some bad tornadoes that occurred. Not saying that'll happen again coming up Wednesday night. We'll just have to stay tuned for the latest here, obviously. So, again, let's go ahead and you can see here just the different temperatures, and see how cool it is out in New Mexico, some of these spots, Colorado here and the like. So just trying to give you the lay of the land here per se as we go ahead and get back locally here. You see maybe a little bit of rain in the Gulf there south of Tallahassee, but it doesn't look to be too big of a concern, so that's good news. But definitely watching a pretty busy picture here. Again, all those flood warnings, flash flood warnings, you know, rapid water rise concern in parts of Oklahoma right now. Remember, turn around, don't drown, and do not cross a road. You know, you can't see how deep the water is on. That is very dangerous. Very dangerous. Got to be very mindful of that. Let me see if there's any questions or comments from any of the viewers at home here watching. I know we're on pretty late, but not as late here, you know, as sometimes when we do these updates here in the Ward the Weather Center. Just wanted to make sure we give you guys all those latest details here. We're just trying to be on top of it here at Clouds Weather. So maybe watching on demand here as well. Maybe watching on demand, and I know we're just wishing everybody the best here with the weather situations for sure, as we're just watching the overall developments. So let me just go ahead and keep looking here at a couple things. Want to make sure we kind of just look at the overall situation here meteorologically. Now I need to mention the rip current threat here towards some of those coastal areas. You got to stay aware of that. We have had people, you know, here recently even lose their life in that. So you just got to be really careful. Don't get in the water if it's a situation where there's any type of threat or if you're not comfortable out there. And we got to really watch toward the summer because you're going to have people coming down that are even less familiar with the water here, less familiar, and you're going to potentially have folks getting themselves in harm's way. We really see it around Panama City sometimes. Folks just aren't used to dealing with how dangerous those rip currents can be, how dangerous those waters can be sometimes. We were seeing rip current statement from the Jacksonville office back on that Tuesday here, and we're just going to keep on monitoring all that. Another thing we're obviously monitoring here, I know FSU graduation is coming up, and we're trying to stay FSU strong here after what happened, those terrible events there that transpired as we were looking. It's been almost 2 weeks ago now, and I know some folks taking exams still out toward campus. This is a look at Macomb Street and Tennessee Street as you're looking there with the view. You see the intersection there with Copeland, and you see just all those different places. I know we're not too far away from, if you go a little bit further, some of the camera shots here, these camera views can give you the looks there like where that University Inn used to be. I know they have a development there now that they're going to go ahead and be building, and the light there as we're looking ahead. And you can see here, though, just watching this here, not too busy, but some folks do have exams. I wish you guys the best of luck if you happen to be up late and now you're getting ready for bed because you were maybe studying late here. Good luck on those exams here, folks. I know it's been a tough stretch here lately with what transpired at the student union there. Just absolutely heartbreaking. And we talk about, the best of luck on exams a lot here, but this time around, I know some classes have them optional or virtual, but for some folks, it's going to mean the difference between graduating possibly and not graduating. It's going to mean the difference here between passing and failing in a semester in a class. And sometimes there's classes where, they're only offered once a year. So it's kind of a tricky situation here. And if you don't make the grade now, you have to wait a whole another year, a whole another maybe spring semester of 26 to take them. So that can make things pretty tricky, but best of luck for everybody on exams, all the different universities around here across our viewing circle, and if you're watching somewhere else across the country here as well. So again, let me go ahead and move away from this viewpoint on things here. And let's see that one there just down the road a little bit. I was alluding to it. Dewey Street at Tennessee Street there. I know this is where some of the reporters were going back a couple weeks ago with the coverage on the different media outlets. And there's a McDonald's just, kind of that parking lot's on the left side of your screen. And there used to be University in there on the right, but that's now going to be a development here. I know it's been talked about like last year, I believe it was, in the Tallahassee Democrat newspaper there. Big, multi-story complex there as we look ahead in the years to come. So that's some exciting news for Tallahassee there as we're tracking things. I know as we're kind of watching the overall viewpoints here. Not too busy. It is 1:22 with this camera shot and, the viewpoint that we're looking at. So again, Dewey Street there. Honestly, over the years at FSU, we've talked a lot about my time at FSU here lately, and it's been for heartbreaking reasons. Really talking about Strozer Library and what happened there, but I do we want to stay FSU strong. I want to talk about some kind of not sad stuff now, because most of my time at FSU was one that was really full of joy and full of learning, not full of sadness by any stretch. And I remember this road here. This is one, though, that you don't really want to cross maybe alone here. Let's just say that if you want to go to McDonald's, you might want to go through the tunnel here. That's just my experience on it. But anyhow, let's go ahead and I'm talking about the traffic. But as we're going ahead and looking here, we'll go ahead and give you this view, but as we're showing everything here to you guys, and let me go ahead and get the graphics back on up here. We did talk about the drought monitor here back on that Thursday. We did talk about that on that Thursday here. It hadn't changed. The updates here once a week, but some areas have done better than others. They have done better than others here as we're looking last several days. So let me go ahead and show you this. This is what it was looking like last Thursday when the map was released. The data will be valid through Tuesday of this week when that update comes in for this Thursday. But you see Southeast Marion and Volusia, some big concerns there. Of course, Volusia is not part of our 62 counties, so you can kind of talk about Flagler County. So Marion and Flagler are our two most concerning counties with some severe to extreme drought there. You really need to be careful. I really don't want to be burning here right now. We've already had some issues here. Folks burning, whether it's a burn ban or not, you just got to be really careful. You just got to be really careful because all of a sudden that fire maybe that you think is under control, these drier conditions, and with the wind picking up, they can get out of control very quickly. So very important to keep in mind here. And then that rainfall forecast next 7 days, you can see looking toward southern Oklahoma and northern Texas here. We're talking about around 5 inches of rain on average. That's a lot of precip. And this forecast says a little bit less, maybe to North Florida and South Florida, than what I think we might ultimately get. We might ultimately get here. I know we could end up seeing a little bit more, especially I think Sunday. The rain chances are starting to go up a little bit more for that Sunday here as we're tracking things. It could be something where we have, area of low pressure here we'll be watching. Don't think it'll get, something in that. I'm trying to say this, hedge around it. I don't think it's going to become tropical, though, is what I mean. We'll watch, but it'd be really early for that if it did. I mean, it'd probably just be a beneficial rainfall producer anyway. I'm talking about the named storm. There's a very, very small chance that could happen, I guess, but I don't really see it right now in the models, but that can change, and it could be something we'll have to watch. It's just really early for that. We have been a little bit unseasonably warm, but still, I think it's a little early for that here, but it has happened before. I mean, granted, we're really, you might see that more in like late, maybe we had Beryl back in 2012. That was a storyline. Memorial Day weekend, we had a near hurricane come across our area, and that was something there for sure. I hadn't really seen some of those conditions around in multiple years, and that was in late May. But stuff like that can happen here as we're tracking things. And I know, actually, talking about FSU again here. Tail end of that, headed on out to campus for orientation. So that was fun here in 2012. As we were looking there to start my 4 years off, or almost started off there toward one of the greatest universities in the country, where my thoughts and prayers do continue to remain with those impacted by the terrible tragedy there at the Union just a little less than 2 weeks ago. As we go ahead and see our 62 counties here, we're always on for any tornado warning storms. Within the 62 counties, we have been watching the radar, had been posting about some severe thunderstorm warnings, even being on Monday with some of the local warnings as we were watching the national picture as well. I know afterward I-75 there and in south central Georgia, we had pretty nasty wind on some of that action Sunday night, it seemed, based on some reports. So that was noteworthy there. But as we go ahead and show you now the look here at the spring 2025 commencement weather forecast here as we continue to stay FSU strong here. I mean, of course, there is still sorrow, there's still heartbreak after what happened at the Union. I mean, it is, and was anyway, at least the crime scene, terribly, a double murder did take place there, but we have to try to be resilient the best we can here in times of tragedy. So we want to try to congratulate everybody that, they're graduating here this weekend. President McCullough will be there and shaking everybody's hand, and he'll be, having that cap and gown on there to award Then out on at Tucker Civic Center, there will also be, though, enhanced security and a moment there to remember the victims lost after that senseless tragedy there. As we were looking back on that, April 17th, that just like November 20th, 2014, we're never going to forget. That was the Schroeder Library shooting. No innocent victims were killed that day, but one student did suffer paralysis. So, as you see here, 9 a.m. on that Friday, lower 70s, 20% chance of rain. 2 p.m. on that Friday, middle 80s, so warming on up there. Rain chance getting up to about 30%. By 7 p.m. on Friday, lower 80s, 30% there for that rain chance. And then, I did lower them a little from when I had this graphic on last week for that Friday, but Saturday, still up there a little bit more. So just be careful. You got to watch out too. I mean, there's going to be a lot of folks with, like, maybe suit jackets coming on in. Hopefully not outside too long. I mean, if there's enhanced security, I don't know how that'll look, but we got to make sure folks are staying hydrated, especially like if they're out there in the afternoon. Parents coming in, family coming in. It could be a little bit on the warmer side here. Don't want to have anybody suffer from heat exhaustion or heat stroke here. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water and staying hydrated here. I mean, from my experience, you weren't outside too long, but again, I know things could look a little bit different with the enhanced security here. So again, just be in a mode where you're going to have to stay hydrated, especially if you're going to the afternoon ceremonies with your student, family, or faculty as we're looking there, or friends. As we go ahead and see those rain chances, so we'll have to just watch whenever thunder roars. That lightning threat is around, obviously. So, and you'll hopefully be able to get indoors. But as we go ahead and look here at that planning forecast toward that weekend, I know we have youth graduation coming up as well toward our area here, toward Gainesville and Alachua County. We see 88 for that Wednesday, 88 for that Thursday, 89 on that Friday there, getting up toward 90 on that Saturday. As we're tracking things here, 40% chance of rain. So it is starting to go up a little. I had 20 area-wide Friday, but 30 toward Tallahassee and the Peak Heating. And then you see Sunday, though, 60% chance of rain. We could have quite a bit of precip around. We need the rain. So if we can get that and not get severe weather, not get, a lot of lightning, then that'd be great. We'll have to just watch. We'll have to continue to track. I know coming home one of the years, not the year I graduated, but one of the years in the spring, we had, toward that weekend, a whole bunch of rain right ahead of that. And we had severe weather on the back side. So it was an interesting pattern, very memorable, late April, early May type setup about a decade ago or so. But as we're looking here, 86 on that Sunday, 84 that Monday. So a little bit warm or cooler for those highs there, and those lows a little cooler as well. Getting a little closer to average, at least here, as we have a little bit more of that cooler. Try to come in, not that cool, but a little bit more cloud cover around, as well as, again, northern Florida and South Georgia are FSU strong here. Again, that FSU spring commencement weekend coming up Friday and Saturday. It is a time to celebrate accomplishments over, 4 years, give or take, for folks. There's academic achievements here. I know it's something we want to really try to celebrate those and not focus on what happened, but 13 days ago or so now, as we're looking toward the union. You want to focus on the good. A lot of good for a lot of people. That FSU degree means so much. If you're watching yourself, you should be very proud. If you're a family member, a friend of one of those students, maybe even multiple graduating, you should be proud of them. So, again, that garnet and gold as we stay FSU strong. As we go ahead and look here, I know one more time at this, I do want to mention the FSU Clemson baseball series. We'll be watching, for those chances for some storms that pop up that could cause some delays in Tallahassee. So that's something to watch for. little bit more likely as we get towards Saturday and Sunday than it would be on Friday probably, but even Friday, I mean, it's not out of the question. As you saw here, Tallahassee had that 30% chance during peak heating of the precip. So just again, whenever Thunder Wars go indoors, as you're looking at that, I know got really lucky overall for the baseball regional series last year and super regional series there last year. But a lot of years in Tallahassee, it's not that case. You have thunderstorms just popping up every day. I mean, it happens in Gainesville too. You just have hours of delays, and it really messes up that pitching there. That's probably, I mean, we could probably do a study on this, but I know, you did one national title in college baseball. It took them a while, and sadly for my Noles here, when I graduated, as we've alluded to there, proud alumnus of that school, FSU there in Tallahassee, but they haven't ever won a baseball title despite getting to the College World Series so many times, and some years they've had really good teams and couldn't get there, and maybe because of the weather messing up that pitching, all of a sudden you gotta switch things up because that pitcher's, already been going, and now you have a delay, and then it just kind of messes the rhythm up. You gotta wonder if that's played a role in both teams not winning as many titles as you would expect here over the years because the weather gets kind of nasty. Maybe, maybe it's something to look into. That I know they've had it down there, and they don't have it right now because of what happened with Hurricane Milton, but maybe, I know they're probably not the money for it, but and Florida has a newer stadium, very new stadium, FSU. Hopefully they'll get one here in years to come, a new one, but maybe some type of, indoor, option. I know that's going to be a lot of money, probably in the budget, but retractable roof, something like that, maybe to, be able to keep playing when there's storms around out with Royale, not getting a vine there in terms of that pitching. I know this year, FSU, I mean, maybe the best pitcher in the whole country, Jamie Arnold, but and then some other pretty good ones, but then beyond that, the pitching is a little bit, because of injuries here, maybe a little bit lacking that depth there. So, then all of a sudden, if you start a pitcher, then we have the rain delay, lightning delay, then you have to switch, and then you're in the bullpen, and then you have problems. And it's something that, if another team's coming in, not dealing with it as much, then maybe they haven't necessarily been affected as much. Maybe, let's say this happened weekend before as well, and you just don't have that rhythm going continuously. So that can be problematic. Let's go ahead and show you here now that look at the viewpoint again across the region. FSU, Tallahassee, a state capital region, just a great place there, and of course, you have FAMU and Tallahassee State College. Everybody, so happy about graduating here as we look ahead. And just looking at that view overhead there. I know. We'll look at the broad view again. I'll put the wind direction on and see a little bit of that there. That can lead to that stronger rip current thread along the East Coast here. Just have to be very mindful of that here as we're looking ahead. Some folks, you're getting out of your exams, you're not graduating this year, so you're heading out, you want to go to the beach. Maybe, let's come up with some theoreticals here. Let's say you're from up north, but you're driving back, maybe from the northeast, so you say you want to go to one of the beaches, maybe like in Nassau County there in Florida before you get back. Well, you got to be really careful at the beach. You got to be really careful there of those rip currents. Those can be dangerous. The East Coast beaches here, those are so nice. I've been there to, Amelia Island and some of those there, and they're really nice. But, a lot of beaches are really nice, but they do have the hidden hazard, and you have to be aware of that here as we're looking at things. St. Augustine Beach or what have you. Just be very careful. Southeast Georgia there as well. If you get caught in one, you want to swim parallel to the shore in these type of instances here. But really, if you're not comfortable doing it, I mean, you just really would rather be, staying out of the water, just enjoying the sand. I mean, just if you're caught in that rip current, swim parallel to the shore until you're out of the current, then swim back at an angle to the shore. And if you can't swim, float and call for help. That's some official rip current tips there to stay calm though and avoid swimming directly against the current, to stay away from rip currents as if it's, you think it's safe enough. But if you don't, just don't go out there. It can happen on days that seem so calm and they can turn so tragic there with rip currents. We've seen it here recently even, so you just got to be really careful here as we're looking. You can see it along the Gulf Coast as well. Again, Panama City is a really, really risky spot just over the years with that. We've seen, as you get in the summer months, I mean, folks want to enjoy things. They're coming from another state maybe, not familiar with the water because it can be dangerous. You just got to be really trying to, stay safe here, to stay calm, but don't go out in it unless you absolutely have to. You just don't want to get caught up in one of these situations. You just don't want to get caught up in one of these situations here, folks. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here. Notice if there are any questions or comments. I know Tucker watching on YouTube. Definitely talking about a lot of power outages there up toward like Pennsylvania. Allegheny County there around Pittsburgh, Center County around State College, that's Penn State University. We're talking about a significant amount of power outages. Pittsburgh especially, they took a hard hit on that Tuesday there. Some of the stronger winds they've probably seen from Atlantic storms in a long time here. When you put it all together here, I'm sure there'll be some surveys done. I think WPXI TV there, the NBC station in Pittsburgh, they were talking about having to change some scheduling up because of the surveys they're going to have to take place to see this, maybe based on the damage, estimate that damage, see how strong the winds were, and if there were any tornadoes, and if so, where they were. But a lot of it probably straight line winds based on what I've seen on the Doppler technology. So again, just always important to keep in mind here. Very important to keep in mind here. I know we're watching that flooding, those storms out toward Oklahoma still, as we're tracking things, as we're watching things here late tonight, late on this Tuesday night. Let me go ahead and give you another look here at the Doppler perspective out there. Let me go ahead and get out there. You see those flash flood warnings there in Oklahoma right now. It is some of the heavier acts that moved through Tulsa, but they've already had a lot of rain lately, and another, couple of inches isn't going to help. Flash flooding up small creeks and streams, urban areas, highways, streets, and underpasses, as well as other poor drainage. Low-lying areas can be a problem. Tulsa, Broken Arrow, Sand Springs, Claremore, Owasso, Sapulpa there, Glenwood, Collinsville. I don't believe there's a warning for it, but we did have a quick spin-up tornado around Collinsville on that Tuesday there, based on some of the reporting that I saw there. So looking on some of the sites there toward that region. I mean, that was before things really got going in southwestern parts of Missouri. That's why it's always important, on those local levels, to be paying attention here to those warnings, even if they're severe thunderstorm warnings, because occasionally tornadoes can be produced by severe thunderstorms. You just got to be aware of that. I mean, we've seen it here in Bradford County in 2020 and 2021, going back there. So you just got to be really weather aware. See tornado watch still parts of northern Texas, a little bit of southern Oklahoma, some severe thunderstorm warnings. These are just great storms here, so I have to just watch to see if a couple of these get a tornado warning on them. It's possible as we're looking. I know this storm here north of Seymour, Texas, we're watching. Another one in southern Oklahoma, just north of Wichita Falls. You see this area here, this is north of Gainesville in Texas, getting into southern Oklahoma. Another storm west of Abilene. That looks like some pretty nasty hail with that, 1.5 inches or more. The ping pong ball size is what this is showing with the warning. So north side of Abilene could be getting into that based on the latest algorithmic data. You see southwest of Lubbock there, we're watching things. You see around Brownfield, Texas. Severe thunderstorm warning there for 60-mile-an-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail at 12:43 a.m. Central Time. So again, just continuing to track all this. I mean, continuing to give you guys the very latest here on exactly what's been going on. Again, you see the map here. You see areas like Ocala and Jacksonville and Albany, and then you have Tallahassee, of course, where we just got the FSU strong there. I know, just looking back even on the baseball team, they did struggle up at Louisville, lost 2 out of 3, but and softball won 2 out of 3 Pretty Knowles at Louisville, by the way, and it's gonna be coming up here later tonight, Wednesday evening. I didn't plan on talking about it, but I know there's gonna be something to honor the seniors for FSU softball there. Coach Alameda there, I know she's battling cancer, and it's something where, though, that the team, they didn't have those games there that senior weekend there toward that period there toward Easter after the terrible tragedy, the shooting there at the Student Union. So it's gonna be a senior showcase at 6 p.m. there Wednesday there, coming up later tonight, April 30th. So that's exciting there. And I know as you're looking at things, tracking things, folks are invited to attend that there to honor the seniors. There's quite a few of them. Senior showcase there. There's even going to be some free hot dogs by supplies last there, and that's exciting there. They had some of that. They're going back to that FSU baseball game. We didn't talk too much about it because we had so much to get to last Tuesday, talking about my experience there, 2014, with what happened at Schroeder Library, and me being in Cawthon Hall there, but when that happened on the ground floor. But going back to last Tuesday, that was such a, just really dignified ceremony there beforehand, and then the game, a great win there against Stetson for Denol. I mean, before the game, you had members of the FSU band there to march and see such a great band for Denol there. You had the PA announcer, you saw it on the ACC network before the game started as well. Terry Vaughn here from Bradford County. Many of you guys know him. He was, telling folks about the information there in terms of trying to kind of lead into all that there with the national anthem, and then also remembering the victims there toward what happened. And he, of course, Bradford County radio voice there for so many years, and now FSU baseball and soccer PA announcer there for his Knowles. He's a proud graduate there of FSU. So FSU and Bradford County connection there. And again, I mean, all those students out there on the field, at Dick Howser Stadium to, be there last Tuesday, April 22nd there. It was, really touching ceremony there as everybody coming together as we're FSU United, FSU Strong. I know, we had something somewhat not, there are definitely notable differences in this time around. Sadly, we had innocent folks lose their lives. But, we had our shooting there in 2014 at the Schroeder Library, and we were FSU Strong and FSU United then, and just wishing everybody the very best here in what is a very difficult time in a lot of regards. But graduation for, folks is an exciting time as well. And so folks, I know, going back to that student union there Monday and Tuesday, and for some, that's offering a little bit of relief there in terms of being able to at least have a different memory of it before they graduate. So again, let's stay FSU Strong, everybody, as a whole community, North Florida, South Georgia. I'll be back late there, so another update, unless we need to pop back in sooner. So we'll be on sooner if we need to be here from the Weather Center, obviously. We'll be on sooner, but I know if we have some severe weather like in Dallas area that really takes that turn, you have Facebook, Casey Cloud Reacts, Cloud Weather, Twitter / Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, and cloudweather.com. All the different links available there. Interactive radar available there. And as we just keep on looking here, we have all these warnings out toward the west in the central part of the country. And that's something that the local meteorologists are having to monitor. It's not really a huge national story, but at points, it does become pretty relevant. As we talked about, it was very busy around Pittsburgh there, western Pennsylvania, especially on that Tuesday. So just stay safe, stay informed. Again, all the different platforms are keeping you guys up to date. And then, clutter.com with all the links available there. And then we just want to stay FSU strong here, folks. Want to stay FSU strong. Have a good night. Stay safe.